Dr. Ethan Kim had read enough romance novels to know exactly where he stood in this world. He was the sucker doctor, the side character, the one who treated the female lead's injuries after she dramatically fainted into the CEO's arms for the 15th time this month. "Another headache, Miss Chen?" Ethan asked, trying not to sound tired as the delicate woman clutched her forehead on his examination table. "It's just so stressful," she whispered. "Alexander doesn't understand my feelings." Alexander Frost, the CEO, the man who owned half the city and apparently all of Miss Chen's heart. Ethan had never met him, but he'd heard enough. Cold, powerful, devastatingly handsome, the usual. Ethan handed her some mild painkillers. Oh, these should help. And maybe try talking to him directly instead of fainting? Miss Chen gasped like he'd suggested something outrageous. Before she could respond, the clinic door burst open. A man in a perfectly tailored black suit strode in, and Ethan's breath caught. Tall with sharp features and eyes like winter storms. His dark hair was styled perfectly, and he moved with the kind of confidence that came from never being told no. "Alexander." Miss Chen jumped up, suddenly recovered. So this was the famous CEO. "We're leaving," Alexander said coldly, not even glancing at Ethan. "I have a meeting in 20 minutes. "But the doctor hasn't finished." "He's finished?" Alexander's tone left no room for argument. Ethan felt irritation spark in his chest. "Actually, I need to discuss her test results." Alexander finally looked at him. Their eyes met, and something strange happened. The CEO's expression flickered, just for a second. Then the ice returned. "Send them to my office." He placed a business card on Ethan's desk without touching him and guided Miss Chen out. Ethan stared at the card. Alexander Frost, CEO of Frost Enterprises. Below it, a handwritten note in sharp, precise letters. "Come to my office tomorrow, 3 p.m., alone." What on earth? The next day, Ethan stood outside the massive Frost Enterprises building, questioning his sanity. He could have just called, but curiosity ate at him. And maybe, just maybe, he wanted to tell this arrogant CEO exactly what he thought about dragging sick people away from medical care. The receptionist sent him straight up to the top floor. The elevator ride felt like ascending to another world. When the doors opened, an assistant greeted him. "Dr. Kim, Mr. Frost is expecting you. Go right in." Ethan pushed open the heavy doors to find Alexander standing by floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out over the city. "You came," Alexander said without turning. "You summoned me like I'm your employee. I came to tell you that's not appropriate." Alexander turned, and Ethan saw something unexpected in his eyes. Amusement. Brave. "Most people don't speak to me like that." "I'm not most people. I'm a doctor, not one of your staff. And Miss Chen needs proper rest, not to be dragged around to your meetings." "I don't care about Miss Chen." Ethan blinked. "Excuse me?" Alexander walked closer, each step measured. "The engagement is business. Our families arranged it. She knows this. Everyone knows this. Then why? I asked you here because I need a doctor, a personal physician. Someone discreet." Ethan's mind raced. "I have a clinic. I can't. I'll pay you 5 times what you make now. You'll work 3 days at your clinic, 2 days for me. Non-negotiable." Everything's negotiable. That's how conversations work. Another flicker of amusement crossed Alexander's face. "You're different from what I expected." "What did you expect?" "Someone who'd say yes immediately. Someone impressed by money and power." Alexander was close now, too close. But you're looking at me like you want to argue. Because you're being unreasonable. I'm being practical. You're a good doctor. I checked your credentials. You also have a massive student loan and your clinic is barely breaking even. This solves both our problems. Ethan hated that he was right. Why me specifically? Alexander's expression shifted to something unreadable. Because you're the only person who's looked at me like I'm just a man, not a CEO, not a walking bank account, just a man who was being rude to a doctor. The honesty caught Ethan off guard. I'll think about it, Ethan said finally. You have until tomorrow, same time. Alexander returned to his desk, dismissing him, but as Ethan reached the door, Alexander spoke again. Ethan. It was the first time he'd used his first name. The sound of it in that deep voice did something strange to Ethan's heart. Wear something other than that terrible sweater tomorrow. We're going to dinner to discuss terms. Ethan looked down at his comfortable worn sweater. What's wrong with my sweater? It has a coffee stain. And it's 2 sizes too big. It's comfortable. It's a crime against fashion. And despite himself, despite everything, Ethan smiled. I'll think about that too. As the elevator doors closed, Ethan caught his reflection. His cheeks were flushed. His heart was racing. Oh no, he was in trouble. Ethan did not wear a different sweater to dinner. In fact, he wore the same one, coffee stain and all. If Alexander Frost wanted to hire him, he could accept Ethan exactly as he was. The restaurant was predictably expensive, the kind where the menu had no prices and the chandeliers probably cost more than Ethan's medical degree. Alexander sat at a private table in the back, already reviewing something on his tablet. He looked up when Ethan approached, and his eyes immediately went to the sweater. You wore it again. You said it was comfortable. I agreed. The smallest smile tugged at Alexander's lips. Sit. A waiter appeared instantly, pouring wine that Ethan was certain cost more than his monthly rent. Alexander ordered for both of them without asking, which should have annoyed Ethan, but somehow didn't. The CEO seemed to instinctively know what would suit him. I accept your offer, Ethan said once they were alone. With conditions. Alexander raised an eyebrow. Conditions. First, I keep full control of my clinic. Second, I need to know what I'm actually treating you for. And third, this stays professional. No ordering me around like I'm your assistant. Agreed to the first 2. The third is impossible. Why? Because I order everyone around. It's who I am. Alexander leaned forward. But I'll try to phrase them as requests when it comes to you. Fair? It was more than Ethan expected. Fair. Now my condition. You move into the penthouse. Ethan nearly choked on his wine. Absolutely not. You'll be on call. It's practical. It's inappropriate. I'm your doctor, not your... Ethan stopped himself. Not my what? Alexander's eyes gleamed with something dangerous. Not your companion. The penthouse has 6 bedrooms. You'll have your own floor. We'll barely see each other. Then what's the point? Alexander's expression turned serious. I have a condition. A heart condition. Inherited. Usually it's manageable, but I have episodes. Irregular heartbeat, chest pain. Sometimes I pass out. I need someone who can respond immediately. The doctor and Ethan immediately took over. Have you been monitoring it? What medications are you on? When was your last cardiology appointment? See? This is why I need you. You actually care. Of course I care. That's my job. No, Ethan. Most doctors care about their reputation, about impressing me, about what I can do for their career. You care about the actual problem. The way Alexander said his name again made Ethan's stomach flip. He pushed the feeling down. Fine. I'll move in, temporarily, until we figure out a better monitoring system. Excellent. You start tomorrow. The food arrived, and they ate in comfortable silence. Ethan found himself studying Alexander when he thought the CEO wasn't looking. There were shadows under his eyes, and tension in his shoulders. This was a man who carried too much weight. Why don't you rest more? Ethan asked suddenly. Can't. The company, the family obligations, the engagement. About that. Does Miss Chen know about your condition? Alexander's jaw tightened. No. And she won't. This stays between us. Even though you're supposedly getting married? Especially because of that. The engagement is business. My grandfather wants to merge our family's companies. Her father wants the Frost name and connections. Love has nothing to do with it. That's sad. Alexander looked at him sharply. It's realistic. It's lonely. Something shifted in Alexander's eyes. Vulnerability, quickly hidden. You're too observant for your own good, Dr. Kim. And you're too guarded for yours, Mr. Frost. Their eyes held across the table. The air between them felt charged, electric. Ethan's heart raced, and he knew it had nothing to do with his medical condition and everything to do with the complicated, frustrating, fascinating man in front of him. The moment broke when Alexander's phone rang. He glanced at it, and his expression hardened. I have to take this. Give me a moment. He stepped away, and Ethan watched him through the glass wall of their private area. Alexander's body language changed completely. Cold, corporate. The warmth from their conversation vanished. When he returned, that coldness remained. We need to leave. Family emergency. What kind of emergency? The kind where my grandfather just had a stroke. Alexander's voice was flat, emotionless, but Ethan saw the way his hands shook slightly as he gathered his things. I'm coming with you. You're not... I'm your doctor now, remember? And from the sound of it, you're about to enter an extremely stressful situation, which means your condition could act up, which means I'm coming. Not negotiable. Alexander stared at him, and for the first time, Ethan saw actual gratitude in his eyes. Thank you. They rushed to Alexander's car, a sleek black vehicle that probably cost more than Ethan would make in a lifetime. The driver sped through the city toward the hospital. Tell me about your grandfather, Ethan said gently. Richard Frost, 78, built the company from nothing, has controlled every aspect of my life since I was born. Alexander's voice remained flat. He's the reason for the engagement, the reason I work 18-hour days, the reason I can never just be... He stopped himself. Be what? Ethan prompted. Nothing. Forget it. But Ethan didn't forget. He filed it away with all the other small pieces of Alexander Frost he was slowly collecting. At the hospital, chaos greeted them. Alexander's mother was crying in the hallway. His father was on the phone shouting at someone. And Miss Chen was there too, holding Alexander's mother's hand, playing the perfect future daughter-in-law. But when Alexander walked in, it was Ethan he kept close to his side. The hospital hallway smelled like antiseptic and tension. Ethan stayed slightly behind Alexander as they approached the chaotic scene. Alexander's mother, an elegant woman even in distress, looked up with red-rimmed eyes. Alexander, finally. Where have you been? I came as soon as I heard. What's his condition? Before she could answer, a tall man in an expensive suit stepped forward. He looked like an older, harder version of Alexander. "Nice of you to show up," he said coldly. "I've been here for an hour." "Marcus." Alexander's voice dropped several degrees. Ethan realized this must be Alexander's older brother. The tension between them was thick enough to cut. "And you brought your doctor friend? How thoughtful." Marcus's eyes swept over Ethan dismissively. "Does your fiancé know you're having dinner with strange men?" Miss Chen shifted uncomfortably. "Dr. Kim is my new personal physician," Alexander said firmly. "He's here in a professional capacity." "How very professional." Marcus's smile was cruel. Ethan felt anger rise in his chest, but before he could respond, a doctor emerged from the ICU. Everyone rushed forward. "Mr. Frost is stable," the doctor announced. "The stroke was moderate. He's conscious and asking for Alexander." "Of course he is," Marcus muttered. Alexander moved toward the door and Ethan followed instinctively. "Just family." Marcus blocked his path. "He's coming with me," Alexander said, his tone brooking no argument. They entered the ICU room together. Richard Frost lay in the hospital bed, looking smaller than Ethan imagined a man of his reputation would be. But his eyes were sharp and alert as they fixed on Alexander. "Boy, come here." Alexander approached the bed. Ethan stayed by the door, observing. Richard's vital signs on the monitors were stable, but his color was poor. "I heard you were at dinner with him." Richard's gaze flicked to Ethan. "My doctor. We were discussing my treatment plan. Don't lie to me. I know about your heart condition. Had my people look into why you suddenly needed a personal physician." Richard coughed, and Alexander immediately reached for the water cup, helping him drink. The gesture was tender, surprising. "Then you know why he's necessary," Alexander said quietly. "I know you're keeping secrets from your fiancé, from your mother, from everyone." Richard's hand gripped Alexander's wrist with surprising strength. "But you can't keep secrets from me. I built this family. I know every crack in the foundation." "Then you know the engagement is a mistake." The words hung in the air like a bomb. Richard's eyes narrowed. "That engagement secures our company's future. The Chen family's manufacturing connections are vital. There are other ways. There is no other way." Richard's voice rose and the heart monitor beeped faster. "You will marry that girl. You will produce an heir. You will do your duty to this family." Ethan stepped forward. "Mr. Frost, you need to stay calm. Your blood pressure is rising." "Who asked you?" Richard snapped. "I did," Alexander said firmly. "And you'll respect him, or I leave." The room fell silent. Ethan could see the shock on Richard's face. Apparently, Alexander didn't usually stand up to his grandfather. Richard studied them both with calculating eyes. "I see. So that's how it is." "It's not," Alexander began. "Don't insult my intelligence. I'm old, not blind." Richard looked at Ethan. "Doctor, step outside." "No," Alexander said. "It wasn't a request." Ethan touched Alexander's arm gently. "It's okay. I'll wait outside." Their eyes met, and Ethan tried to convey reassurance. After a moment, Alexander nodded. Outside, the family was still gathered. Miss Chen approached Ethan immediately. "How is he?" "Stable. Alexander is speaking with him now." "Alexander." She said his name with such familiarity, such ownership. "We've been together since we were children, you know. Our family's always planned for us to marry. It's destiny." Ethan felt something ugly twist in his chest. Jealousy. He had no right to feel it, but there it was. "Does Alexander feel the same way?" he asked before he could stop himself. Miss Chen's smile faltered. "He will. Once we're married, once we have children, he'll learn to love me properly. Love grows, you know. Or it doesn't." Her eyes turned cold. "You're just a doctor. You don't understand how our world works. Alexander has responsibilities, duties. He can't just follow his heart like common people. Maybe that's exactly what he should do. And maybe you should remember your place." Marcus appeared beside them, having apparently overheard. "Careful, Dr. Kim. The Frost family doesn't take kindly to outsiders interfering in family matters." "I'm not interfering. I'm treating a patient." "Is that all Alexander is to you? A patient?" Marcus leaned in closer. "Because from where I'm standing, you look at him like he's much more than that." Ethan's face heated, but he kept his expression neutral. "I look at him like a doctor looks at someone with a serious heart condition. With concern." "Sure you do." Marcus straightened. "A word of advice. My brother is broken. Has been since we were kids. You can't fix him. Nobody can. Whatever you think might happen between you, it won't. He'll marry Chen, produce an heir, and continue the family legacy. That's all he's good for." The cruelty in Marcus's voice shocked Ethan. This was how he spoke about his own brother. The ICU door opened and Alexander emerged. His face was pale, his jaw tight. He looked like he'd been through a war. "We're leaving," he said to Ethan, not even glancing at the others. "Alexander, wait." Miss Chen reached for him. "Not now, Lin. I need space." They walked to the elevator in silence. Once inside and alone, Alexander's careful control cracked. He leaned against the wall, breathing hard. "Alexander?" Ethan moved closer. "Are you okay? Is it your heart?" "No." "Yes." "I don't know." Alexander's hands were shaking. "He knows. He figured it out somehow." "Figured what out?" Alexander's eyes met his, and Ethan saw fear there. Real, genuine fear. "That I'm falling for you." The elevator seemed to stop, even though it kept moving. Ethan's heart pounded so loudly he was sure Alexander could hear it. "You can't," Ethan whispered. "I know. This is impossible. I know. Your family, your engagement, your entire life. I know." Alexander's voice broke. "I know all of it, Ethan. I know every reason why this is wrong, but I can't stop it. Ever since you walked into my office and argued with me, ever since you wore that ridiculous sweater just to defy me, ever since you looked at me like I was just a person and not a walking corporation." The elevator doors opened. They were in the parking garage, empty except for them. Alexander stepped closer. "Tell me you don't feel it too. Tell me I'm imagining this." Ethan couldn't, because he did feel it. This impossible, complicated, dangerous thing growing between them. "We can't," Ethan said, even as his heart screamed the opposite. "I know." But neither of them moved away. Moving into Alexander's penthouse felt surreal. Ethan stood in the massive living room, his 2 suitcases looking pathetically small against the marble floors and designer furniture. "Your floor is upstairs," Alexander said, maintaining careful distance. They hadn't spoken about what happened in the elevator 3 days ago. Hadn't addressed the confession hanging between them like smoke. Master bedroom, private bathroom, study. Everything you need. "This is too much." "It's practical." Alexander's walls were back up, his voice professional. "I had medical equipment installed in your room. Monitoring devices, emergency supplies. You'll receive alerts on your phone if my vitals become concerning. He held out a tablet showing various health metrics. All Alexander's. Heart rate, blood pressure, oxygen levels. You're really serious about this, Ethan said. I'm serious about staying alive. The company needs me. My family needs me. I don't have the luxury of ignoring my health. But not. I need to stay alive for myself, Ethan noticed. Everything was about duty, responsibility, other people. What about what you need? Ethan asked quietly. Alexander's mask cracked slightly. What I need doesn't matter. It matters to me. Their eyes met, and that electric current sparked between them again. Alexander looked away first. I have a meeting. Make yourself at home. He left quickly, almost like he was running away. Ethan didn't blame him. He wanted to run too. The penthouse was beautiful but cold. Like a museum. Every item perfectly placed. Nothing personal anywhere. Ethan explored his floor, finding it more comfortable than the rest of the house. Someone had stocked the bathroom with good toiletries. The study had medical journals and a new laptop. The bedroom took his breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. The bed was enormous, and on the nightstand was a small note in Alexander's sharp handwriting. The sweater drawer has better options. A. Ethan opened the drawer to find several high-quality, soft sweaters in his size. All comfortable, none with coffee stains. He found himself smiling despite everything. His phone buzzed. The medical app showed Alexander's heart rate was elevated. Stress, probably from his meeting. Ethan spent the day organizing his things and setting up his workspace. Around 8 p.m., he heard the elevator. Alexander was home. Ethan found him in the kitchen, tie loosened, looking exhausted. Your heart rate was high all afternoon, Ethan said by way of greeting. Board meeting. Marcus tried to undermine me in front of the directors. About what? Everything. My decisions, my leadership, my personal life. Alexander poured himself whiskey. He told them about my heart condition. Ethan felt anger flash through him. He what? Tried to make me look weak, unreliable. Said I'm unfit to lead. Alexander drank deeply. My grandfather shut him down, but the damage is done. The board is concerned. That's a violation of medical privacy. It's family. There are no rules in family. Alexander laughed bitterly. Marcus has been trying to take my position for years. Now he has ammunition. Ethan took the glass from Alexander's hand. No more. Alcohol isn't good for your heart. I don't care. Well, I do. I'm your doctor. Remember? Is that all you are? The question hung in the air between them. Dangerous. Tempting. That's all I can be, Ethan said softly. Alexander's phone rang. He glanced at it and sighed. Lynn? She's called 15 times today. You should answer. I don't want to. Alexander. She wants to set a wedding date. Her father is pushing. My grandfather agrees. Everyone agrees except the two people actually getting married. Does she know you don't love her? She doesn't care. She loves the idea of being Mrs. Frost more than she loves me. Alexander moved to the window, staring out at the city lights. Do you know what's funny? I've never been in love. Never felt what everyone talks about in movies and books. I thought maybe I was broken, incapable of it. And now? Alexander turned, and the look in his eyes made Ethan's breath catch. Now I know I'm not broken, just waiting for the wrong person. Alexander, don't. I'm not asking for anything, Ethan. I'm just being honest. You wanted honesty, right? Professional, honestly? This isn't professional. No, it's not. Alexander smiled sadly. But it's real. The only real thing in my life right now. Ethan's phone buzzed. Alexander's heart rate was spiking. You're stressed. You need to rest. I'm not stressed. I'm terrified. Alexander pressed a hand to his chest. Because for the first time in my life, I want something I can't have, and I don't know how to handle it. We'll figure it out, together, as doctor and patient. Is that what we are? That's what we have to be. But even as Ethan said it, he took a step closer, and Alexander took a step closer too. They were inches apart now, the air between them charged with everything they weren't saying. I should check your vitals, Ethan whispered. That's probably wise. Neither of them moved. Your heart is racing, Ethan continued. Yes. That's dangerous. Very dangerous. You should, Alexander agreed. But still neither moved. They stood there, caught in the gravity of each other, both knowing they were on the edge of something they couldn't take back. Ethan's phone buzzed again. An alert. Alexander's heart was in arrhythmia. The spell broke. Sit down, now. Ethan switched into doctor mode, guiding Alexander to the couch. He pulled out his stethoscope, pressing it to Alexander's chest. The irregular rhythm was clear. When did this start? About 5 minutes ago. When I got close. Yes. Their eyes met. Alexander's irregular heartbeat seemed to sync with Ethan's own racing pulse. This is dangerous in more ways than one, Ethan said quietly. I know. Ethan kept his hand over Alexander's heart, feeling it gradually slow and steady. The touch was professional, medical. But the way Alexander looked at him was anything but. Better? Ethan asked. No. Worse. Because now I know what your hands feel like. Ethan pulled away like he'd been burned. I should go. You need rest. Ethan, good night, Alexander. Ethan practically ran to his floor. Once safely in his room, he leaned against the door, his own heart racing. This was impossible. Alexander was as patient. Alexander was engaged. Alexander was from a completely different world. But when Ethan closed his eyes, all he could see was the way Alexander looked at him. Like he was something precious, something worth more than money or power or family expectations. Like he was everything. Absolutely not, Ethan said, staring at the tuxedo hanging in his room. Alexander stood in the doorway, already dressed in his own perfectly tailored suit. He looked unfairly handsome. The annual Frost Charity Gala is tonight. You're my doctor. You need to be there. I'll be available by phone. You'll be there in person. Non-negotiable. Alexander stepped into the room. There will be over 500 people, endless champagne, and my entire family. If my heart acts up, I need you close. Won't that look suspicious? Your doctor following you around? You're also being introduced as a family friend, someone I went to university with. Ethan raised an eyebrow. We're the same age. We could have gone to university together, but we didn't. No one will fact check. Just follow my lead. 3 hours later, Ethan stood in the grand ballroom of the city's most exclusive hotel, feeling completely out of place. The tuxedo fit perfectly. Alexander had somehow gotten his measurements exactly right, but Ethan still felt like an imposter among the wealthy elite. Stop fidgeting, Alexander murmured beside him. I'm not fidgeting. You've adjusted your tie 6 times in the last minute, because it's strangling me. Alexander's lips twitched in almost smile. You look good." Before Ethan could respond, a wave of people descended on them. Businessmen wanting Alexander's attention, socialites fishing for gossip, reporters looking for quotes. Alexander handled them all with practiced ease, cold and charming in equal measure. Ethan noticed how exhausted Alexander looked by the time they got a moment alone. The mask he wore for the public took so much energy. "You okay?" Ethan asked quietly. "Perfect," Alexander lied. Miss Chen appeared in a stunning red dress, looping her arm through Alexander's possessively. "There you are. I've been looking everywhere. We need to dance for the photographers." "Lynn, I don't..." "It's expected, Alexander. We're engaged. People want to see us together." She practically dragged him to the dance floor. Ethan watched them move together, looking like the perfect couple. Beautiful, wealthy, destined to be together. His chest ached. "Hurts, doesn't it?" Ethan turned to find Marcus beside him, holding a champagne glass and wearing a cruel smile. "I don't know what you mean. Please." You watch him like a drowning man watches the shore. Marcus took a sip, but that shore is reserved for people like her. People from the right families, the right backgrounds. I'm just his doctor. Keep telling yourself that. Marcus gestured to the dance floor. "See how good they look together? That's what grandfather wants. What the board wants. What everyone wants. Your feelings, my brother's feelings, they're irrelevant." "Why are you telling me this?" Marcus's expression turned serious. "Because part of me feels bad for you. You genuinely care about him. That's rare in our world. But caring isn't enough. It never is." The dance ended and Lynn kept Alexander close, introducing him to various important people. Ethan felt increasingly invisible. He slipped out onto the balcony for air. The night was cool, the city spread out below like scattered diamonds. Running away. Ethan turned to find an elderly woman in an elegant gown. She had kind eyes and a knowing smile. "Just needed air," he said. "Liar. You needed escape." She extended her hand. "Patricia Montgomery. I'm a friend of Richard's wife, Alexander's grandmother. She couldn't make it tonight. Doesn't approve of these shows." "Dr. Ethan Kim." "Ah, yes. The mysterious new doctor. Richard mentioned you." Ethan's stomach dropped. "He did?" "Said Alexander hired someone completely inappropriate. Too young, too inexperienced, too..." She paused meaningfully. "Distracting." "I'm qualified." "Oh, I'm sure you are. But that's not why Richard thinks you're inappropriate." Patricia smiled gently. "I've known Alexander since he was a boy. Brilliant child. Terribly lonely. His father was always working. His mother was lost in her own world, and Marcus bullied him constantly. Richard raised him, molded him into the perfect heir. Cold, efficient, emotionless. He's not emotionless." "No?" "Tell me, Dr. Kim, when was the last time you saw him genuinely smile? Not that corporate smile he gives the cameras. A real one." Ethan thought back. Alexander smiled slightly sometimes, usually when Ethan challenged him or said something unexpected. But a real, open, happy smile? He couldn't remember seeing one. "Exactly," Patricia said softly. "Richard broke that boy. Taught him that feelings are weakness, that duty is everything, that personal happiness is selfish. Why are you telling me this? Because I see the way he looks at you when he thinks no one is watching, and I see the way you look at him. And I think maybe you could be the person who reminds Alexander that he's allowed to want something for himself. He's engaged to a girl who sees him as a prize, not a person. Patricia touched Ethan's arm gently. I'm not telling you to break up an engagement. I'm telling you not to give up on him. Whatever this is between you, it's real. And real is precious in our world of fake smiles and arranged marriages. She left before Ethan could respond. Back inside, the gala was in full swing. Ethan spotted Alexander trapped in conversation with a group of investors. He caught Ethan's eye across the room and something passed between them. A lifeline thrown across a crowded space. Ethan's phone buzzed. The medical app showed Alexander's heart rate climbing. Stress. He pushed through the crowd. Excuse me, gentlemen. Mr. Frost has a call he needs to take. It can wait, one investor started. It can't. Ethan's tone left no room for argument. He guided Alexander away into a quiet corner. There's no call, Alexander said. I know. Your heart rate was spiking. You needed an out. Alexander stared at him. How did you know I needed rescuing? I'm learning to read you. Dangerous skill. Probably. They stood close, partially hidden by a large floral arrangement. The party continued around them, but they might have been alone. Thank you, Alexander said quietly, for tonight, for being here, for everything. That's my job. No, Ethan. Your job is to monitor my heart. This... He gestured between them. This is something else entirely. We can't... I know. You keep saying that. But knowing something and accepting it are different things. Alexander. Lynn's voice cut through the moment. She appeared slightly drunk, makeup perfect but eyes hard. Where did you go? I've been looking everywhere. Medical issue. Dr. Kim was checking my vitals. Right here? In public? She looked between them suspiciously. That seems inappropriate. Would you prefer I pass out in front of 500 people? Alexander's voice was cold. Lynn flinched. Of course not. You never tell me anything. We're supposed to be getting married, but you treat me like a stranger. Because that's what we are, Lynn. Strangers forced together by family expectations. That's cruel. It's honest. Lynn's eyes filled with tears. Real ones this time, not the practiced tears Ethan had seen before. Do you hate me that much? Alexander's expression softened slightly. I don't hate you. I just don't love you. I'm sorry. I wish I could, but I can't force something that isn't there. But maybe with time. Time won't change it. Alexander's voice was gentle but firm. You deserve someone who loves you. Really loves you. I'm not that person. Then who is? Lynn looked at Ethan and understanding dawned in her eyes. Oh no, Alexander, you can't be serious. Lynn, do you have any idea what this will do? To your family, to the company, to everything? Her voice rose. You're throwing away everything for a doctor? People were starting to notice. Heads turned. Whispers started. Lynn, lower your voice. Why should I? Let everyone know. Let them see what kind of man you really are. Selfish. Reckless. Willing to destroy everything. She stopped abruptly, swaying. Her face went pale. Lynn? Alexander caught her as she collapsed. Ethan immediately went into doctor mode, checking her pulse, her breathing. She's passed out. Too much champagne on an empty stomach, probably. The crowd gathered, murmuring. Alexander's mother pushed through. What happened? She's fine. Just needs rest. Ethan helped Alexander carry Lynn to a private room backstage. They laid her on a couch, and Alexander's mother hovered anxiously. Should we call an ambulance? No need. She'll be okay. Ethan checked her vitals again, but someone should stay with her. I will, Alexander's mother said, shooting her son a complicated look. You two should go. This party is over anyway. The car ride back to the penthouse was silent. Alexander stared out the window while Ethan fought the urge to reach for his hand. I'm sorry, Alexander finally said. For what? For dragging you into this mess. Lynn was right. I'm being selfish. No, you're being human. Ethan turned in his seat. You're allowed to want things, Alexander. You're allowed to feel things. Am I? Because everyone seems to disagree. Then everyone is wrong. Alexander looked at him, and in that look was everything they couldn't say. Everything they couldn't have. Tomorrow I need to officially end things with Lynn, Alexander said. It's not fair to her, or to me, or to what? Or to us, whatever us is. Ethan's heart raced. There is no us. There can't be. Why not? Because you're my patient. Because your family will never accept it. Because you're afraid. Alexander's voice was soft but certain. I'm afraid too, but maybe being afraid together is better than being safe apart. They arrived at the penthouse. In the elevator, neither spoke, but when its doors opened to Alexander's floor, Ethan followed him out instead of continuing to his own. Ethan, I'm checking your vitals. After tonight, your heart needs monitoring. It was a lie. They both knew it. But sometimes lies were necessary to get to the truth. The next morning, Ethan woke up on Alexander's couch. Somehow during his vital monitoring the night before, they'd ended up watching a terrible action movie together, and Ethan had fallen asleep. He found Alexander in the kitchen, already dressed for work, making coffee. You snore? Alexander said without looking up. I do not. You absolutely do. It's cute. Ethan felt his face heat. You should have woken me up, sent me to my floor. I tried. You're surprisingly stubborn when unconscious. Alexander handed him a mug. I covered you with a blanket instead. The gesture was so domestic, so normal, that it made Ethan's chest ache. This was what life could be like. Morning coffee, casual conversation, comfortable silence. But it wasn't real. Couldn't be real. I'm meeting with Lynn this morning, Alexander continued, to officially end the engagement. My lawyers have already drawn up the dissolution papers. How did your grandfather take the news? I haven't told him yet. I will after I talk to Lynn. No point in giving him ammunition to interfere. Alexander leaned against the counter, looking tired. He'll be furious. The board will be concerned. The company's stock might drop, but I can't keep living a lie. What will you tell them? About why you're ending it? The truth. That I don't love her. That forcing a marriage would be unfair to both of us. Alexander met Ethan's eyes. I won't mention you. That's private. There's nothing to mention. Isn't there? Before Ethan could answer, Alexander's phone rang. His expression darkened as he looked at the caller ID. Marcus. Probably calling to gloat about last night's scene. He answered. What do you want? Whatever Marcus said made Alexander go rigid. The blood drained from his face. When? His voice was sharp. How bad? Is he stable? Ethan moved closer, alarmed. I'm on my way. Alexander ended the call, already moving. Grandfather had another stroke, worse than the first. They're doing emergency surgery now. I'll come with you. You don't have to. I'm coming, not as your doctor, as your friend. Something shifted in Alexander's expression. Gratitude mixed with fear. Thank you. The hospital was chaos again. This time, the entire Frost family was there, including distant relatives Ethan didn't recognize. Alexander's mother was sobbing in his father's arms. Marcus stood apart, his face unreadable. "Where is he?" Alexander demanded. "Surgery. They said it'll be hours." Marcus finally looked at his brother. "The doctors say his chances aren't good." For once, there was no cruelty in Marcus's voice, just exhaustion. The family settled in to wait. Ethan stayed close to Alexander, monitoring his vitals through the app. The stress was affecting his heart, making the rhythm irregular. Hours passed. The surgeon finally emerged, looking grim. The surgery went as well as could be expected, but Mr. Frost has suffered significant brain damage. He's in a coma. We won't know the extent until, if, he wakes up. Alexander's mother wailed. His father looked like he'd aged 10 years in moments. Even Marcus's composure cracked. But Alexander stood frozen, his face blank. Ethan recognized the signs: shock, denial, the mind's way of protecting itself from too much all at once. "Can we see him?" Alexander asked quietly. "One at a time." "He's in ICU." Alexander went first. Ethan watched through the glass as he sat beside his grandfather's bed, holding the old man's hand. He couldn't hear what Alexander was saying, but he saw the moment Alexander broke. Shoulders shaking, head bowed, tears falling. Without thinking, Ethan entered the room. "Ethan, I can't do this." Alexander's voice was raw. "He's the only one who ever believed in me. Even when he was cruel, even when he pushed too hard, he believed I could be something great. You are something great. I'm nothing without him. The company, the family, everything. I don't know how to do it alone." Ethan pulled Alexander into his arms. "Professional boundaries be damned. You're not alone." Alexander clung to him, crying into his shoulder. All the walls he'd built so carefully crumbled. Here, in this sterile room with his dying grandfather, Alexander was just a scared man who never learned how to grieve. The door opened. Marcus stood there, taking in the scene. For once, he didn't look angry or cruel, just sad. "Mom wants to see him," Marcus said quietly. "Ethan, can I talk to my brother? Alone?" Ethan looked at Alexander, who nodded reluctantly. He squeezed Alexander's hand once before leaving. Outside, Lynn was there. She looked pale, makeup-free, younger than usual. "Is he okay?" she asked. "As okay as he can be. This is my fault. If I hadn't made that scene last night, if I hadn't stressed him, stop. Richard's stroke isn't your fault. He's been ill for a while. This was coming regardless." Lynn wrapped her arms around herself. "Alexander told me this morning, before the call, that he wants to end our engagement. He was very kind about it, very gentle, but it still hurt. I'm sorry. Are you?" She looked at him directly. "Because you're the reason, aren't you? He's ending it. Because of you." Ethan didn't know how to respond. Lynn laughed bitterly. "I'm not angry. Not anymore. Last night I was humiliated, drunk, dramatic. But this morning, after I sobered up, I realized something. Alexander never looked at me the way he looks at you. Never. In all our years together, he never once looked at me like I was his entire world. Lynn, I deserve that, don't I? To be someone's entire world, not just a convenient arrangement." She wiped her eyes. "So I'm letting him go. Officially. The engagement is over. I already told my father this morning." "How did he take it?" "Badly. He's furious. He'll probably try to cause problems for the Frost Company. But that's not my concern anymore." She straightened her shoulders. I'm going to find someone who actually wants to marry me, and Alexander can be with whoever he chooses. She said whoever, but looked directly at Ethan. He's lucky, she added, to have found something real. Don't waste it being scared. She walked away, leaving Ethan alone with his thoughts. Inside the ICU room, Alexander and Marcus were talking. Ethan couldn't hear them, but their body language was different, less hostile, more like actual brothers. When Alexander emerged, his eyes were red, but his expression was calmer. What did Marcus say? Ethan asked. That if I'm going to run the company alone, I need to actually do it. Stop trying to be grandfather, stop trying to please everyone, and actually lead. Alexander took a shaky breath. He also said that life's too short to waste on people who don't matter, and too short to ignore people who do. That's surprisingly wise for Marcus. He has his moments. Alexander managed a small smile. Come on, let's go home. There's nothing more I can do here today. In the car, Alexander held Ethan's hand, not caring who saw, not hiding anymore. Everything's falling apart, Alexander said quietly. The engagement is over. Grandfather might die. The company is in chaos. But somehow right now, holding your hand, this is the most stable I've felt in years. Alexander, I know all the reasons why this is complicated, but I'm done pretending, done lying to myself and everyone else. He turned to face Ethan. I'm in love with you. Completely, terrifyingly in love with you. And if you don't feel the same way, tell me now so I can start getting over it. But if you do, if there's even a chance. There's more than a chance, Ethan interrupted. I'm already there. I've been there. I just didn't want to admit it because I was scared. And now I'm still scared. But I'm more scared of not trying. Ethan squeezed Alexander's hand. Your life is complicated. Your family is difficult. The company is demanding. And you have a serious heart condition that requires constant monitoring. Dating you would be the most challenging thing I've ever done. That's not a great sales pitch. I'm not done. Ethan smiled. But you're also brilliant, kind when you think no one's watching, and you have terrible taste in action movies. You make me want to be brave. You make me want to take risks. You make me want to believe that maybe, just maybe, we could figure this out together. Is that a yes? That's a let's try and see what happens. Alexander pulled him into a kiss. It was soft, gentle, perfect. The world outside could wait. Right now in this car, they were just two people finding each other. When they finally pulled apart, Alexander was smiling. A real smile. The kind Patricia had asked about. I think I can face whatever comes next now, Alexander said. Good, because we have a lot to figure out. We will, together. Together. Ethan liked the sound of that. Richard Frost died 3 days later without waking from his coma. Ethan watched Alexander transform during those 3 days. The vulnerable man who cried in his arms disappeared, replaced by the CEO everyone expected. Cold, composed, handling 1,000 details with mechanical efficiency, the funeral was enormous. Politicians, business leaders, celebrities, everyone who was anyone came to pay respects. Alexander stood beside his father and Marcus, accepting condolences with the same practiced expression for hours. Ethan stayed in the background, officially there as family friend, secretly there because Alexander's heart monitor kept showing concerning patterns. Stress and grief were taking their toll. After the burial, the reading of the will took place in Richard's lawyer's office. The entire family gathered, tension thick in the air. The lawyer cleared his throat. Richard Frost's will is comprehensive and specific. Well, to Marcus Frost, he leaves the country estate and a trust fund of $10 million. Marcus's face remained neutral, but Ethan saw the flash of anger in his eyes. To Alexander Frost, he leaves controlling interest in Frost Enterprises, the penthouse, all business assets, and chairmanship of the board. Alexander showed no reaction. He'd expected this, but the lawyer wasn't done. However, there is a condition. Alexander must marry within 6 months and produce an heir within 2 years, or control of the company passes to Marcus. The room erupted. That's insane. Alexander's mother gasped. It's controlling, Marcus said, but he looked pleased. It's also legally binding, the lawyer continued. Richard was very specific. He believed family legacy required traditional family structure. If Alexander doesn't meet these conditions, Marcus becomes CEO. Alexander sat frozen. Ethan felt his own heart sink. This was Richard's final manipulation, even in death, controlling his grandson's life. After the meeting, Alexander drove aimlessly, Ethan in the passenger seat. Neither spoke for a long time. He knew, Alexander finally said, about us. He figured it out somehow, and this is his revenge. His way of forcing me back in line even after death. What are you going to do? Alexander pulled over, hands gripping the steering wheel. I don't know. If I don't comply, I lose everything. The company my family built, the employees who depend on us, the legacy. But if I do comply, I lose you. I lose myself. There has to be another option. There isn't. The will is airtight. My lawyers already confirmed it. Alexander laughed bitterly. Grandfather wins. He always wins. So you'll find someone to marry, for show. A business arrangement. Like I had with Lynn. Another lie? Alexander turned to face him. I can't do that. Not anymore. Not after finally finding something real. Then what? Then I let Marcus have the company. I walk away, start something new. You'd really do that? For you? Yes. Alexander's voice was steady. But I'd resent it, eventually. I'd look at what I gave up and it would poison everything between us. I know myself well enough to know that. Ethan felt tears burning his eyes. So we're trapped. We're trapped. They sat in silence as the sun set, both knowing what came next, but neither wanting to say it. I should go back to my clinic, Ethan said finally. Move out of the penthouse. Make this clean. Don't. Please. Just a few more days. Let me have a few more days. Those few days turned into a strange, bittersweet existence. They lived together, took care of each other, pretended the deadline wasn't approaching. Alexander went to board meetings where Marcus was already positioning himself as the better choice. Ethan returned to his clinic part-time, treating patients who had no idea his world was falling apart. At night, they'd sit together, not talking about the future, just existing in the present, learning each other, memorizing each other. Tell me about your family, Alexander asked one evening. Not much to tell. Parents are farmers in the countryside. Simple people. They didn't understand why I wanted to be a doctor, but they supported me anyway. Took out loans they couldn't afford. You send them money. How did you know? I looked at your bank records when I hired you. Sorry. Alexander didn't look sorry. You send them half your salary every month. They sacrifice for me. It's only fair. You're a good son, a good person. Alexander pulled him closer. I don't deserve you. Don't say that. It's true. You're kind, honest, caring, everything I'm not. You're all those things too. You just hide it behind expensive suits and cold stares. Maybe with you I don't have to hide. They kissed, and it felt like goodbye even though neither said it. The next morning everything changed. Ethan woke to find Alexander gone. A note on the pillow said he had an emergency board meeting. But when Ethan checked the news, he understood. Frost Enterprises in chaos. CEO's personal life under scrutiny. The article detailed everything. Alexander's ended engagement. Rumors about his relationship with his male doctor. Questions about his fitness to lead. Marcus giving quotes about traditional values and proper leadership. Someone had leaked their relationship, deliberately, publicly. Ethan's phone rang. His clinic manager. Ethan, there are reporters outside. Lots of them. They're asking about you and Alexander Frost. What's going on? I'll handle it. Don't talk to anyone. Next call was his mother. Ethan? Sweetie? There are people here, at the farm, with cameras. They're asking about you and some rich man. What's happening? Ethan felt sick. They were attacking everyone he loved. He called Alexander, who answered immediately. Where are you? Ethan demanded. In a board meeting. They called an emergency vote. Marcus is trying to remove me as CEO right now. Alexander, reporters are at my clinic, at my parents' farm. I know, I'm handling it. How? By destroying your career? By letting Marcus win? If that's what it takes to protect you, yes. Don't you dare. Don't you dare give up everything because of me. Ethan, no. Listen to me. I won't be the reason you lose your company. I won't be the reason your grandfather's legacy dies. We both knew this was impossible from the start. So what are you saying? Ethan closed his eyes, heartbreaking. I'm saying we stop this. Now. Before it gets worse. I'll release a statement saying we're just doctor and patient. You'll comply with your grandfather's will. Find someone appropriate to marry. Save the company. I don't want someone appropriate. I want you. Then you're a fool. Because I'm the worst thing that could happen to you. Ethan's voice cracked. Goodbye, Alexander. He hung up before Alexander could respond. Then Ethan did what he should have done from the beginning. He packed his things, left the penthouse, and disappeared into his simple life. Back to his small apartment, his regular patients, his uncomplicated existence. But his heart stayed behind in that penthouse with the complicated, frustrating, perfect man who'd taught him what love actually felt like. Even if that love was impossible, 2 months passed in painful silence. Ethan threw himself into work. His clinic stayed busy. Patients needed him. Life went on. But everything felt gray, colorless, like he was moving through water, watching the world from a distance. He avoided all news about Alexander. Didn't read articles. Didn't look at photos. Tried not to think about whether Alexander had found someone appropriate to marry, whether the board had stabilized, whether Marcus had won, whether Alexander's heart was okay without monitoring. That worry kept Ethan awake at night. What if Alexander had an episode? What if no one was there to help? What if... He couldn't think about it. His clinic manager knocked on his office door one afternoon. Ethan, someone's here to see you, says it's urgent. A Mr. Frost? Ethan's heart stopped. Marcus? Alexander. For a moment, Ethan couldn't move. Then he was on his feet, walking to the waiting room on shaking legs. Alexander sat in a plastic chair, looking completely out of place in his designer suit among Ethan's practical, simple clinic. He'd lost weight, had dark circles under his eyes, looked exhausted. But when he saw Ethan, his entire face changed. Relief, hope, love. "We need to talk," Alexander said. "I have patience. I bought out your afternoon appointments. They've all been rescheduled and compensated. You can't just..." "Apparently I can. Money is useful for something." Alexander stood. "Please, give me 10 minutes. Ethan led him to his office, closing the door. They stood on opposite sides of the small space, oceans between them. "You look terrible," Ethan said. "You look beautiful." "Don't." "Why not? It's true." Alexander moved closer. "These 2 months have been hell. The board meetings, the interviews, the constant pressure to find an appropriate wife. I met 12 women my mother selected. Successful, beautiful, from good families. Perfect on paper." Ethan felt sick. "Did you choose one?" "No, because none of them were you. None of them argued with me. None of them wore terrible sweaters. None of them looked at me like I was just a man instead of a walking corporation. Alexander, this isn't why you're here. We agreed." "You decided. I never agreed." Alexander pulled out a folder. "I've spent 2 months with lawyers and accountants finding a way out, and I found one." "What are you talking about?" "There's a loophole in grandfather's will. He specified I must marry and produce an heir, but he never specified gender. The lawyers say if I marry and adopt a child within the time frame, it technically satisfies the conditions." Ethan's mind raced. "But your board, your family, they'd never accept..." "I don't care what they accept. I've spent my whole life living for other people's approval, making myself smaller so they'd be comfortable. I'm done." Alexander's voice was steady. "I'm prepared to fight, to take this to court if necessary, to restructure the company if I have to. But I'm not marrying some woman I don't love, and I'm not giving up on us. The scandal will destroy you. Maybe. Or maybe it'll show everyone that I'm strong enough to choose my own path, that I'm not afraid of my grandfather's ghost." Alexander took out another document. "I've also started a foundation for LGBTQ+ youth in business, scholarships, mentorship, support. Using my grandfather's money to help people he'd have hated. It feels like justice." Despite everything, Ethan smiled. He'd be furious. Good. He controlled enough of my life. He doesn't get to control my death. This is insane. Risky. You could lose everything. I already lost everything when you left. The penthouse is empty without you. The company's success means nothing. I have money, power, respect, and I'm miserable because I don't have the one thing that actually matters. What's that? You, Ethan. I don't have you." Ethan felt tears burning. What if this doesn't work? What if the board rejects you? What if Marcus takes over? What if your family disowns you? Then we'll figure it out. Together. Alexander closed the distance between them. "I'm not asking for easy. I'm asking for real, for honest. For a chance to build something that's actually ours, not something my grandfather planned before I was even born. Your mother, your father, they'll never accept this. My mother already knows. I told her last week." Ethan's eyes widened. "What did she say?" "She cried. Said she'd suspected for a long time that I was unhappy. that she'd watched me become more and more like my grandfather and less like myself. Then she hugged me and said she just wants me to be happy. Finally. And your father? Still processing. But he'll come around. He's always been more practical than ideological. Alexander took Ethan's hands. Marcus surprised me the most. He said he'd support me at the board meeting. Said he's tired of fighting for something that was making us both miserable. Marcus said that. People can change. Even my terrible brother. Alexander smiled slightly. Turns out almost dying really does put things in perspective for him. Ethan laughed despite his tears. This is crazy. Completely crazy. We'll face so much opposition. Definitely. People will judge us, attack us, make our lives difficult. Probably. Your heart condition is serious. You need constant monitoring, lifestyle changes, stress management. I know. That's why I need my doctor close by. Alexander pulled him closer. I need you, Ethan. Not as my doctor, as my partner, my person, the one who keeps me grounded when the world gets too loud. I'm just a simple doctor from the countryside. You're everything. And I'm asking right now, will you take a chance on us? Will you move back into that ridiculous penthouse and argue with me about my terrible sweaters? Will you help me figure out how to be myself instead of who everyone expects me to be? Ethan searched Alexander's face, seeing nothing but sincerity, love, hope. The board meeting is tomorrow, Alexander continued. I'm presenting my plan to them, explaining the will's loophole, asking them to support me. It could go badly. They might vote me out anyway. Marcus might still win. But you're trying. I'm trying. Because you taught me that trying is worth it, that being brave is worth it, that love is worth it. Ethan kissed him, soft, gentle, full of promise. Yes, he whispered against Alexander's lips. Yes to all of it. The crazy plan, the risky future, the difficult path. Yes. Alexander's smile was brilliant, real, free. We should probably discuss logistics. Living arrangements, legal protections, how to handle the media. Later. Right now, just kiss me again. So Alexander did. The next day, they walked into the Frost Enterprises boardroom together, hand in hand. The board members stared, some shocked, some disapproving, some curious. Alexander presented his case clearly, professionally. The will's loophole. His plans for the company's future, his vision for modernizing their policies, the foundation he'd started. Then he introduced Ethan. This is Dr. Ethan Kim, my partner, the person I plan to marry and build a life with. If that's not acceptable to this board, I'll step down. But I won't hide who I am anymore. I won't pretend to be something I'm not. My grandfather built this company on ruthless ambition and control. I want to build our future on honesty and progress. The room was silent. Then Marcus stood. I support my brother. For the record. Alexander's mother stood next, as do I. One by one, board members stood. Not all of them, but enough. The vote was close, but Alexander won. He kept his position, kept the company, kept his dignity, and kept Ethan. Outside, reporters swarmed, cameras flashed, questions shouted. Alexander faced them calmly. I'm Alexander Frost, CEO of Frost Enterprises, and this is my partner, Ethan. We're building a life together. That's all the statement we have today. Simple, clear, honest. The media storm that followed was intense. Some outlets were supportive, others were cruel. Alexander's family faced criticism from conservative associates. The company's stock dipped slightly before recovering. But through it all, Alexander and Ethan stayed together. 6 months later, they married in a small ceremony. Just close friends and accepting family members, Ethan's parents flew in from the countryside, overwhelmed but proud. Alexander's mother cried happy tears. Marcus gave a surprisingly heartfelt toast about second chances. A year after that, they adopted a little girl named Lily, 4 years old, bright-eyed, who'd been in foster care her whole life. She called them Papa Alex and Papa Ethan within a week. The will's conditions were satisfied. Marcus never challenged them. Alexander restructured the company, making it more ethical, more progressive. Ethan kept his clinic, but also became the company's medical director, implementing better healthcare policies for employees. They fought sometimes about work-life balance, about Alexander taking on too much, about Ethan being too stubborn. Normal couple fights. But every night, they came home to each other, to Lily, to the life they'd built together against all odds. "Do you regret it?" Ethan asked one evening, watching Alexander help Lily with her homework. Giving up the easier path, the appropriate wife, the traditional life? Alexander pulled him close, kissing his temple. "Not for a second. This, right here, is harder than anything I've ever done. More complicated, more challenging." "That's not a great answer." "I'm not done." Alexander smiled. "It's also more real, more honest, more exactly what I've always needed without knowing it. You and Lily are my life. Everything else is just work." "Even the company?" "Even the company. Though it helps that you're the medical director now, so I get to see you at meetings, where you ignore my health recommendations constantly. I'm getting better at that. I only had 2 irregular episodes this month. That you told me about. That I told you about," Alexander confirmed, laughing. Lily looked up from her homework. "Are you two being gross and married again?" "Extremely gross and married," Ethan confirmed. "Good. I like when you're gross and married. It means you're happy." Such wisdom from a 7-year-old. That night, after Lily was asleep, Alexander and Ethan stood on the penthouse balcony, looking out over the city. The same city where they had met in a clinic, where they'd fallen in love against all logic, where they'd chosen each other despite every reason not to. "Thank you," Alexander said quietly. "For what?" "For wearing that terrible sweater, for arguing with me, for not being impressed by money or power, for seeing me when I was just another patient in your clinic." Alexander turned to face him, "For teaching me that I deserved to choose my own life. You would have figured it out eventually. Maybe. But it would have taken longer, been harder. I might have married Lynn, had a miserable existence, never known what this feels like. What does it feel like? Like coming home, like finally breathing after holding my breath my whole life, like being seen." Alexander kissed him softly. "Like love, real love, the kind they write stories about." Ethan smiled against his lips. "We are quite the story. The sucker doctor and the domineering CEO who actually fell in love for real. Plot twist, the side character became the main character. Best plot twist ever." They stood there, holding each other, as the city lights sparkled below. Their story wasn't easy, wasn't simple, wasn't what anyone expected, but it was theirs, and that made it perfect.